You good, AJ?
I'm good.
Cool. Hey guys, welcome to the Gecko Pod, episode 29. And we are a podcast for the gecko community where we talk about the hobby and business of breeding geckos. We're here to gather everybody, get everybody excited for the hobby and their projects, and just to further the hobby along and get more and more people into the hobby so we can all just have a grand old time together within the community. My name is Harry at Zero's Geckos on Instagram. AJ is co-hosting AJD Reptiles. What's up, AJ? And today, man, we have Kevin at Fireside Exotics or Fireside Geckos.
Which one?
What's the name, Kevin?
We're going with Fireside Geckos for now, but we might have some name changing and additions in the future. But we'll get to that, I think.
Cool. Okay, cool. So Fireside Geckos. Yeah, it's good to have you on here, Kevin. It's been a long time coming, and we're excited to have you on today. It's going to be a chill episode because it's just like chatting and shooting the breeze and hanging out. And I know you and AJ go way back. What's the history between you guys? How long have you guys known each other?
Oh, man, I think AJ and I at this point have known each other. So I got into this when I was like 19. I think I got my first animal, and then I slowly kind of discover the local reptile scene, right? You always have to like figure out what's going on with reptiles because unfortunately we're kind of like one of those back room still kind of hobbies where you have to search people out. And so I came upon what was called then the Scott Smith Hall Animal Expo, and it still is to this day. It was in Wheaton, Illinois, and that was actually where I first met AJ. He was vending the show. He had probably the most professional setup at the show. He had these banners showing off all of his geckos, and I was like, who is this guy, and what are those? Because at that time, I mean, you know, what I had seen at the pet store when I had got them were like buckskins and olives with like flame patterning, and AJ was probably the first person that I had seen that had what at that time were pinstripes or complete pinstripes. I mean, like nobody had them, and they were the hottest thing, and they were the hardest thing to come by. And AJ had them in yellow, and he had harlequins. So, you know, I just had to meet this guy, and we just seemed to hit it off right off the bat. I mean, he's my age, so I mean, we just kind of started talking, and I was like, those are sweet, those are sweet, those are sweet. Tell me more, tell me more. So it was an easy relationship to form.
Kevin, you have to tell Harry the story when we were at Tinley, and you and I had, and I think your dad had like a rendezvous gecko. Gecko. Like I used to. So tell them how I used to sell geckos because they'll think this is funny.
Okay, so
at Tinley.
So it was probably like my second Tinley I had ever been to, and I always went with my dad because he was kind of like my handler at the time because I was so gung-ho about geckos. I would have spent all of my money and then taken loans out to loan sharks just to have geckos. That's how nuts I was about it. So I never judge anybody for going absolutely crazy buying geckos. I don't blame anybody. So I was at the show, and AJ was like, I'll have availability at the show. Don't have a table. Text me if you want to see what I got. Very, very sketchy. Just right off the bat, I was like, okay, how do I?
You had met me before, though, right?
I had met him before, but I was like, AJ, what is going on? Like, you want me to meet you here? So he texts me. He's like, I'm upstairs in a hotel room. Come meet me. So he texts me the hotel room, and I'm like, okay, Dad, we got to go to the hotel room. He's like, he's not in the show. And I go, no, he's not in the show at all. So we go and meet him, and he's like, hey, like, let's go to the laundry room really fast. There's better light in there. And he's got this box of geckos with him, and we're on a laundry, a washer and dryer in the hotel room at Tinley Park, and he breaks out this box, and I have never seen more incredible reptiles or geckos in my entire life. But he's just filling up a washing machine with all these animals, and I'm like, what is going on here?
And you said there was like a ton of adult females, right?
I've never seen so many adult females in someone's box for sale in my entire life. He had to have at least 25 $2,000 animals in a box just walking around.
Oh my gosh.
Like in today's world, people would be losing it trying to get a hand on one of these animals, and he's just like walking around the show. I think you were with your friend Tyler. who had Muse for a long time.
That would have been. I mean, what year? Tyler wouldn't have been there at that point. I don't think.
You don't think so?
No,
He was with someone, but it was just so funny, this whole experience. And I
Yeah, that's
remember
funny.
I was so broke at the time that I couldn't afford anything, but I was like, AJ, like, please, man, you know me. I need something to breed. And he had Rapala, who actually just proved out empty back for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he was like, I'll stud him for you. Like, give me $200. You can take him home and breed him to your females. Which, does that happen in today's world? Like, I don't think so.
That doesn't happen, huh?
I don't even. I did that. I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that now. Probably. That's funny.
But he saw that I was a good guy. But yeah, that was my first experience at Tinley.
Yeah.
It was just.
We did that. Literally, I don't even remember that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild
That's
stuff.
awesome,
I think
man.
it was you, and then I think the salesmans had like a box of animals they were showing off, and then I think
Yeah.
the Gilpins were too. And you were hanging out with them, and you're like, the Gilpins and the salesmans are working out a deal right now. We can't go in there, so we're gonna go to the laundry room and
Yeah.
make a
He's
deal.
like the hotel.
Well, the
hotel,
way
yeah.
that the way that it used to work, I mean, back in at least in the Midwest area, there was really not like a ton of like established breeders back in the day. So once a year, because Tinley for the longest time didn't have a March show. The March show, I don't know what year it came about. Maybe, do you remember, Kevin? Maybe like 2012 or something, or
Yeah, I mean, I think the advent of it
2013.
was really kind of new when I first
and it was
got into it.
small.
It was small. I mean, there really
Was
wasn't
it
a
at the
door,
same-
and that's
Same convention
It
center?
was the same event space, but they would only open up like 1/3 of it.
Yeah. Okay.
right.
And
They
then
didn't have
each
that
year
extra.
it kind of built,
Yeah.
and now at this point,
The whole
March
room.
and Tinley are full. You know,
Right.
there's less attendance to March, but the amount of vendors are just as high.
Right.
But the way that things used to be is like each year at October, like me and the Gilpins and the Salzmans would like bust out, say like our top 20 animals out on the beds in the hotel room and just be like, well, I really need like I need a yellow pinstripe male. Okay, well, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm looking for like a Harlequin female. Okay,
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
I've got these and these. Well, would you do this one for that one? And we just do that. We did that for probably almost 10 years. I mean, every year we would just kind of. So if anybody's like a Lineage kind of person that knows a lot of Lineage, you'll see a lot of similarity between the Gilpins, the Salzmans, and I. That was kind of like a triple threat for a long time. So
you guys stopped doing that just because more breeders started flooding in and it got too busy?
And I mean, we still do it. It's just not as frequent. I think for the long time, there just wasn't like we were some of the only people in that area that were pushing for the high end as hard as we were.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of people, so we still. I think we're all trading with other people and trading with each other. So it's just now there's a lot more people in the hobby than there were back in the day.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Like I remember when I was a kid, I would trade comic books, right? Like Spider-Man comic books, and you go to a friend's house, everyone like whip out their comic. But with geckos, that would be amazing. But I guess we might miss that boat.
Yeah, no, it can still happen. I mean, that's what Flora Fauna is going to be. I'm sure.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Flora Fauna is going to be. I mean, that was kind of that idea was to create that kind of intimate vibe where it feels kind of like a combination of a reptile show and like a swap between friends and different stuff like that. So I think the magic still lives.
That's good. That's good. So Kevin, you were born and raised in Illinois, Chicago area. Where are you?
Yeah, so the suburbs of Chicago. I can never remember actually where I was born, because where I was born and where I grew up are like completely different places. And so I pretty much grew up in Palatine, Illinois. Went to Fremd High School, if anybody knows where that is. But it's probably like 45 minutes away from the city of Chicago. Okay. It's a northwest suburb of Chicago. So yeah, those were my stomping grounds.
Yeah. And then how did you come up with your name, Fireside? Sounds like camping.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I love the outdoors.
Okay, cool.
And I've always liked orange and black and white. I've always thought that was like the first phenotype I fell in love with crested geckos. AJ probably knows, and you might know her, Barb Gerber.
I know who she
mean,
is.
everybody calls her Mama, so shout out Barb. She had like the best tricolors in the game, and she still is producing incredible animals when it comes to tricolors. And I was absolutely enamored with that look. That was like my goal when I first started buying and producing high end stuff. And so Fireside kind of came where I was like, I want my logo to look like when you look into a flame, where it's like.
Yeah,
But I
kinda
wanted
glowing.
the gecko to look like that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why the logo, I don't know if you can see it, but like that's why it looks like it's glowing.
Yep.
That was like the whole
That's
concept
cool.
behind it, Fireside. So that was where it's at. We kind of backed away from tricolors for a while, but we're moving back in that direction. We've got some really nice animals coming up.
Yeah,
and
man. Yeah, you can't go
it's just
wrong
like
with
everything. Sometimes breeders don't work out; they don't age well. So then you have to look for the right line that someone else might have. So it's sometimes you have to take a break from a project and then find the right stock. So
Yeah, this is a side question for you guys. Do you feel like the tricolors fade out pretty quickly in terms of okay.
Correct.
Tricolors
Absolutely.
specifically, or is it
The
or is it
orange?
all
The
geckos?
orange does not last.
It doesn't
Specifically.
last. You almost have to have a yellow animal, the yellow secondary pattern,
Yeah.
and it'll go more orange as it ages, as opposed to a really vibrant orange. It's gonna age brown.
It'll fade out.
It's always gonna
it
age
fades
brown.
to like tan.
Man.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, but
it's
man,
so-
they're so beautiful. Like having a really nice tricolor, I never get sick of looking at one of those.
they're beautiful for like
3
years.
But I think that's okay. I think that's
it's
okay
okay.
in the long run. I think, if you're breeding these animals, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the times some of these animals don't persist in your collection for longer than 3 years before you're on to their progeny and their breeding ultimately. And so there are certain lines too that I think are showing that they're aging better. Like Donna, your last guest, is working with a really good line, her Captain Fantastic line. I think those age really well, but I think they might have like a hypo component to them. That are
There's
making
something
them
special about those Captain Fantastic animals for sure.
Yeah.
Some strong lineage in those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
That's the logo Noah did for me. It was supposed to have like a retro vibe to it. I really fell in love with like that Miami Vice 80s vibe.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what I was going for with it.
Yeah, it's very cool. Like Knight Rider. Yeah. A cool font. Yeah. I like it.
So that's the goal in the long run, is to have like all different types of like iterations of the same logo, but just with different colorways. Like I take that inspiration from like Nikes or Jordans. Like it's the same shoe, just different colors. So
the dunks, man. You got the Travis Scott. You got all the all the different colors. Yeah, those are that's perfect. I think that's a really cool logo. And Noah did our logo as well. So shout out to Noah.
Yeah.
Appreciate
I love
you,
your guys' logo, by the way. It's really, it couldn't come out better. I love the headset on the gecko.
Yeah, we like the color, and we wanted like a darker gecko, and threw up Xanthic into there. So it's really cool. So when did you? So you started 20. You said 2013. You were getting into the scene a little bit.
When you were 19. Was that 2013, Kevin?
Yeah, it was like 2012, 2013. It was like a year after I graduated high school. I was class of 12. So
Oh man, you came in right when the pricing went bonkers.
I did. I caught that wave. That was crazy. But then
like
I caught the second wave.
Yeah, you did catch the second wave.
What's considered crazy in terms of the pricing?
Kevin,
I'll let AJ handle. Let AJ handle it. He was selling them at that time. So
I would say animals that were, say, like 2012, an animal that was going for like $250 was probably like $600 in 2014.
Okay. Yeah, that's a huge price.
It was probably like 2.5 times the price in 2014.
Yeah.
Which, and then you hit like, what would it have been? I don't know, like some of the 19, 20, 20, 21 pricing was like 3 times that pricing.
That's when I came in, Kevin.
Well, I mean, like peak prices, have gone even like 5 times that original number. I mean, the market is really, I think the market's really viable right now. I know there's been a downtrend, but that's just market correction at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still think that investor quality animals are still, I mean, they're right up there and they're hard to come by. I mean, you're back channeling half the time to get to them.
Yep.
So
Totally. Yeah. I mean, most of that stuff, like the crazy stuff, doesn't even hit the market. So
it goes to friends. Actually, most people give it to their friends. I mean, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah.
You want to see where your stuff's going to go and persist, and to people you trust, especially if it's like a holdback that you were planning on breeding and your friend was like, I need to have it. So
yeah, trades and
trades. Yeah,
that's very cool. So you've progressed from since then, 2013, you're almost 10 years in. And how has that looked for you in terms of, was it always initially cresteds, or did you collect a bunch of random stuff along the way? What did that look like?
I actually was fortunate enough to have caught the bug so bad for crested geckos that I didn't have any money to go and spend on other stuff. I was always going to the shows, and I was so focused on picking people's brains and meeting new people and seeing what was cutting edge. I mean, at that time in crested geckos, the high-end pinstripes were really hot, but then people started coming out with like the triple X. Pangea had their Betty White stuff that had started coming out, which was like the snowflake stuff. It was like the first iterations of it, so there was always something to keep your attention with crested geckos. I mean, the phenotypes that were just beginning, it was right then. It was right in 2012, 2013. You go on Facebook, and this was like in the heyday of Facebook. You scroll through your feed and you're like, what is that? What is that? Who is this? What is this about? What animal are they talking about? Because, I actually think AJ and the Gilpins and the Salesmans are actually really like responsible for like being the spearhead behind Lineage. I really credit them with that, because
love it and hate it.
What are they talking about? Who is Lelorat? And
AJ created
Andrew and I have talked about that. I'm like, dude, I swear we like single-handedly like wrecked and made the hobby. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, and it wasn't just me. I mean, it was the people at that time, but you could probably count them on your hands. Like, there was probably 10 people that kind of steered that whole thing.
I could probably name them.
It was probably like the Gilpins and Meg and Margaret and Mina. I'm trying to think, Mina and Ash Shuich, and like a bunch of those people were all behind that. So, but I think definitely, it was for us to be able to keep track of, at least for our own collections, like what came from what, so that we didn't like just inbreed all our own stuff unintentionally. I think that was kind of the main thing. I don't think it was thinking, oh, people in 20 years are going to keep this tag and they're going to have this giant family tree, because there wasn't any of these. Like, I don't think iHerp existed at that point. I don't think any of that stuff existed. So all of what we were doing, a lot of times, I mean, people would not even do the pairing. They would just do the male. Like, oh, this is out of this male. And they wouldn't even tell you the female. So it was interesting that now we've gotten to the point we are now.
Well, right. And I think there's kind of this dichotomy that's happening with that in mind. I think that a lot of people are seeing the genetics that are popping out, and, we'll hit on this actually at Flora Fauna for anybody who's attending. We're going to have a whole panel, so feel free to attend that talk. But we're going to kind of talk about the dichotomy and the importance of the lineage, but as also on the other hand, we're proving out all these genetics, and you really can't go by lineage in those cases, because you have to backbreed. You have to backbreed out certain traits. So it's interesting. It's been interesting how the community's evolved, and it's still got a long ways to go. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
I just think about like now that there's like common ancestors, like the original Lily White, right? From Lily Exotics. Like, any pair that's ever had a Lily White involved with it has a common ancestor.
Right.
Like, every pair that will have ever made an Xanthic has a common ancestor. Cappuccino, probably one or two common ancestors. So
Sable's the best example.
Yep, Sable. That one's very recent and very clear where it comes from, what animal it was. So. Right. Yeah, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this here in a little bit. We'll talk about lineage and stuff.
There's so much to talk about.
But that's a whole nother thing. I think we've talked about that before, Kevin, just how there's pros and cons to it, and I like what you said, where now we're kind of coming into the time where, because we have all of these defined genetics that we know what they are and how they work, I think people will be seeing a shift for some things more towards what genes does it have and less what pairing did it come from.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
agree.
Like
I
most reptiles.
completely agree.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody's asking for a lineage on a ball python.
Or even
No,
like
they're
leopard
not.
geckos.
They're like, what genes does the snake have in it? You know?
Well, even in our same community, you'll actually see that with gargoyles. You'll see that with Leachianus. And Chihuahua, I think, is probably our second best iteration of lineage in the importance of it. I think, because Brian and Michael have really emphasized that in their collections, along with the Gilpins.
Yep.
So you see it everywhere. You really see it everywhere, and we're probably one of the first to be like, lineage is important. Now green tree pythons are the same way. They're really tracking their lineage because their genetics are unknown. So it's interesting. You see all of these mirrors in the industry if you look around.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot through it too. Lessons to be taken.
Yes. Speaking of Kahua,
Kiwis.
the Kiwis. I noticed you have you've been collecting a few. So in terms of the other species besides cresteds, what else do you keep and collect and breed?
Yeah, so I've got so for like gecko wise, I've got Urodactyloides, agricolae. I have Moringa gecko Kahua. I have, and then I also have. I just started getting into Nephurus, so I've got some knobtails that I'm working with.
Okay.
And I have boa constrictors. So those are the species that I work with. Yeah, that's my girl. That's
nice.
That's Rihanna, and my wife named her. It's kind of our project together. She stays out of the geckos, but the snakes she's enamored with just as much as I am. So we decided to go in on it together, and
that's awesome.
That's her prized girl. She's a VPIT positive, which is it's a tyrosinine positive. So it's a form of albino that maintains pigment. IMG, which is an increasing melanin gene. Aztec, which makes that patterning.
Cool.
It's a pattern disruptor. And then she also has jungle on top of that, which is line bred phenomena where in some cases you can have a perfect stripe going all the way up the animal. So that's kind of what jungle does. But yeah, I'm kind of branching out now that I'm established. We've got, I think at this year running, we've got 7 pairs of Chihuahua, which is exciting. I love the species. I think if anybody doesn't keep Chihuahua right now, I think they should. I think they're they're incredibly inquisitive. I know you do, Harry. I know you've got the bug.
I have a few pairs. Yeah, I have like 2 pairs, 2.5 pairs.
But yeah, I'm so excited about them. I've got fertile eggs actually from that red pair that you showed.
Nice.
That was the one I wanted to get eggs from, and I got eggs from them. So I'm so hoping for some screaming red Chihuahua. Those are pine isles. So
the high color is amazing. I love the high color.
Yeah. I've got animals from Bryant and Sundown Reptiles. I've got animals from Troy. I want to have animals from Michael. I need to get some animals from the Gilpins. So there's a local guy to us. AJ might know, Mark Borchert. His company name is Crusted Creations, but he doesn't breed crusteds anymore. He does Chihuahua. So
he needs to change his name.
I always called him Created Creations.
Wasted.
Because I think it's maybe at some point there was like a card that was like had a typo or something. I don't know why I started calling him that. Maybe his business card was spelled Created. I don't know.
He's a nice guy, so picked up some animals from him. So we've got a lot of stuff in the works, but
that's awesome, man.
Starting to kind of spread your hands into other things. So that's cool.
I mean, you and I have talked about it. I think when you think about it as like a businessman, which I think AJ and I have trended towards. And Harry, you've got the luxury of like you've got a smaller collection. I don't want to say you're not a businessman because I think that's the intention. But when you get to a certain point, you're like, I can't just be bringing crusteds to a show. Like I need something else if I'm going to pay $800, $1,600 for a weekend. I need to have a whole variety of stuff. And AJ really took off on that idea, and I've kind of followed suit with, mirroring that whole idea is that you should explore. I mean, there's so many different species to work with, and
try different stuff.
you can keep them in the same environment as crusteds. So I mean, like I keep my boa in the same room as my crusteds. I mean, the ambient is like 78 for my crusteds. I keep them on the hotter side. But yeah, I mean, that's what this is about, right? You gotta embrace what you like.
I mean, we're all reptile lovers, and whatever you end up like is, whatever your thing is, you just kind of got to roll with it. So that's cool. Kevin, I wanted to ask you a little bit about project development. So developing gecko projects. I know you have a handful of things like your primetime project and some of your stuff with like Bigfoot and those different things that you're breeding. Could you maybe walk us through maybe your mentality of how you kind of build a project from the ground up, how you come up with the ideas, how you execute that from like picking animals based on lineage to buy, all of that. I'd love to just kind of pick your brain on that topic.
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of got lucky. I kind of got lucky with Project Primetime, if I'm being completely honest. I had a crazy idea when I first started. I started with 2 animals from Pangea. I know everybody's going to be like, you bred 2 animals from Pangea that didn't have lineage.
Bro, no lineage? No thanks.
I did it, and it was fine. I actually got some of my best animals out.
It worked out.
Her name was Frostbite, and so then I took Frostbite, who was like she had really clean whites, just like her mother, but in a more advanced way. And so I was like, maybe there's something to this. So then, you kind of have free reign. Once you find the look you're going for, you have free reign to just peruse collections. And I think that's a huge reason why it's important that you have a breeder album up, because it helps people suss out what lines they want to work with, because then they can see what that specific line is doing. And so I found an animal from Jen Bokey, JB's Crusties, who at the time in Illinois, I mean, like when the Reptile Report used to do,
she still has insane
awards.
Animals.
When she used to do awards, her animal won Best Crested Gecko in the country. It was voted #1. That animal was Animal Mother out of Dove and Castellano, which was a high white pin, which was like nuts at the time. And I saw that she was local, so I messaged her. She had an availability, and I got my male Ace, which is I still have him in my collection. He's a white wall, and I had this idea that I think that I can layer this white on top of this secondary color and make tricolors. And I think that's how you have to think. You have to think about it in terms of painting a portrait, right? I think that we're all artists at the end of the day, and your canvas is the animal. And these, like you said, these certain traits work a certain way, and now it's up to us to play with them the correct way to get what you think it's going to look like. And so when I was doing that, I saw that I bred Primetime and Frostbite together, and I got Primetime. I got Primetime out of it, who was the white wall with the secondary coloring, and it was like white spotting. And I said, okay, great. Like, this is my project. I'm going to start, but I need to have other animals that are not related to him that do the same thing. And so that's why you have to go and you have to be familiar with other people's collections, almost like it's offhand knowledge, because that animal that you might want might go in a second's notice, and you're left waiting another year, and I think like you can see people have shared mind's eyes by the way their collections are, right? So like AJ, you get along really well with Brian because you both like yellows. You both really like yellows. And then Noah comes into play there. So then you can kind of like talk to each other and be like, well, I have from this line and this from this line, but I really could kind of use that. And you're like, well, that's great because I wanted to mix this in. And so that's kind of like where project development comes in, is you have to know other people's animals almost better than you. And this pair is actually what I'm going for.
Yeah.
And so you can see kind of what I'm thinking is that his white wall is passed on about 50% of the time to the offspring. She doesn't have that. And so
Yeah.
my idea is if I can get at least 6 eggs, 3 of those are going to come out with that look that I want, but her secondary pattern is almost full coverage. So it's going to fill in where he's lacking. And so that's kind of like where the project development comes in. But if you actually exit that and you go to this year's pairings,
okay. Let me go back.
or even my Instagram might be better for this.
There's 2023 breeders right there.
This one.
So if you go to my 2023, you can see now that I not only have Prime Time, but I also have Saki Bomb, who is my Lily White. He's right down here.
Okay, let me.
He's the only Lily White breeder.
All right, down here.
He's right there. Yeah.
Yep. Click on the.
Oops, sorry.
Click on the. You see the dark tailless? Click on the girl with the tail next to it.
Oh, okay. Next to it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Right here. So that's actually from AJ's line. That's a Muse.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Vault.
a Muse 2.0 by Vault Sun.
Nice.
Bred to Saki Bomb, who he has that filled in mid dorsal like I'm trying to get with Prime Time.
Yeah.
And he's from really good lineage. He's from Winchester.
Nice.
At Crimson Cresties. Well, Winchester is doing essentially the same thing that I want to do with Prime Time, except on steroids.
Yes.
And it translated to all of the Lily Whites. So I figured by getting a Lily White out of him, I'm going to get the best of both worlds. I'm not only going to
get all that palette. Yeah.
I'll get all the palette, and
cool.
the gene is clearly at play that I want to work with. I'll get lilies and non-lilies that I can hold back for. I can go this way with 2 different projects. You know, and so that's kind of how you have to build a project. You kind of have to start with one pairing that really works, which AJ has done a fantastic job with, is Felix and Julia. He hit it out of the park with Felix and Julia.
Genetics. Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, now I need to backbreed, which he did, which I still need to do with Project Prime Time. And then now he has to find stuff that he has to outcross to. But he nailed the first step, and the first step is the most important, is getting a breeding that is better than both animals combined. Yeah, that's the most important step.
And so that just takes a lot of trial and error, you feel like? Or
I think so.
People's minds, you were saying?
Yeah, I think it's gambling on yourself and kind of like what you think you see in an animal. You know, if you think you see something that's special or interesting that's going on, and you see 2 animals that might play with each other or have that additive effect, go for it. Because all you can do is trial and error. I can't tell you how many flops I've had since then, but I hit it out of the park with that, and so I built a project around it because I really liked it. Same thing with Bigfoot. I got really lucky with Bigfoot, and a few of those animals that are in that project.
Who produced
Bigfoot look like? Let me try to find him.
Noah
produced him. I knew Noah. Did you send him back over there for loan, or was that just when he owned him?
So I'll tell you how Noah started that project. So Logan Wooderson and Noah bought Oxford in an auction, who was one of the original Socrates Karma animals from Georgia Gecko. Socrates and Karma made some crazy animals. Who has animals from them? Her name evades me right now. But Logan, the guy he co-owned Oxford with, ended up getting out of the hobby, and Noah bought him outright. And then he has him on permanent loan at Amy's Critter Closet out in California. Yes. And then they bred Oxford to some of her females, which then subsequently produced Bigfoot. Noah got Bigfoot back from that loan as one of the animals that he took, along with Nessie. And then he decided that he bred Bigfoot for one season, and then he told me he didn't want to have 2 copies of the genes. So he decided to sell the male, because I had inquired about, I needed a pinstripe from that pair. And he said, well, I'll do you one better. I'll give you Bigfoot. So now Bigfoot is at my facility because of that. So
nice. Yeah, it's a
so I got lucky with that. Yeah, I got lucky with that. But that's why you make friends in this hobby, right?
Yeah.
You get those opportunities that might not necessarily fall in your lap, and
And
He chose to work with me, and we have a really good relationship now. He's got some animals here on loan from me. I've got some animals on loan from his place, and it's been nothing but a great working relationship. So I think it's a win-win for all of us involved.
I think that's a good thing that you said a little bit earlier, Kevin, where you kind of, it's good to make friends with the people that are into the same things you are. Because you can encourage each other and maybe share information on kind of the projects you're working on. You can bloodline swap. You can, I don't know, like help inspire people to like the projects you like too.
Yeah.
Right.
So like that community aspect is really important for people that are working with the same kind of genes. So
yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah.
Harry,
ahead,
what were you
AJ.
gonna say? You're good.
No, I was just gonna agree with you, because how you and I connected was really, I saw your stuff, fell in love with it, and so now, with the Felix Julia stuff, and I'm like a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of it, and that's how we kind of connected, as we kind of talked a lot about different projects and how to build different projects. And so yes, absolutely, I feel like it's important to connect with like-minded people and find people that are going to do what you do. Like I know Kenny does that with Megan, and he did that with Sam when they had their DAO projects. And so find the people that are your people, and when it comes to the morphs that you're working on, and really build a community around that and work with each other, right? So.
Yeah, and find people that you can make their collection better, they can make your collection better, you can encourage each other. You have like when we talked to Kenny, since I've been like geeking about DAOs, talking to Kenny about DAOs, I was like, oh, Kenny knows a lot about this. So he's like a great guy for me to talk to right now in the phase I'm in of learning, right?
Yeah.
And so just finding those people, like say you want to breed tricolors. All right, well, who's really good at tricolors? Make a short list. All right, well, I should probably get to know these people, and I should probably buy stuff from them and start that relationship. I think you did that really well, Harry, with just the stuff you wanted to get into. You built relationships, you bought animals, you started, conversations, and that helps you kind of, because like Kevin said, a lot of these high-end animals, better, for better or worse, move kind of under the cover of night. One minute there's no availability, and then so-and-so has this insane animal from your favorite breeder.
Yeah.
You're like, what the heck? How do they have that? Probably because they're friends.
They're friends. Yeah.
And so you should try to be friends with people too.
Yeah.
And you should be a friend to others,
Yeah. And how many times have we wanted something, and then, like that animal, no availability, and all of a sudden you see one of their friends.
Yeah, it happens all the time. To me, I'm like, oh man, I really want that. And then it's like, boom, it's gone. It's like, well, it wasn't even posted.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just how it goes. How it goes right now. So
yeah, I know you could get a little frustrated with it, but then you have to look at your own collection and be like, I have a lot of those too, so I guess I can't be that mad about it.
Yeah. You realize you do it yourself, and you're like, I can't be too mad about it.
Right.
So when you started, Kevin, how many animals do you think you got in year 1, year 2? Was it a fast ramp up? Was it more gradual? Did you get a lot of animals and then have to purge because you realized you had stuff you didn't like? What was that like?
I think it's pretty common to have these years of where you're kind of doing this with your collection. But when I first started, it was like I had one, or I bought two, one for me and one for an ex-girlfriend. And then I bought another one, and then I got a Leachianus because I got distracted. And then I sold the Leachianus, and then I got like 4 more females, and then I kind of was like doing one of these. I was just trying to like bargain shop, kind of just looking for nicer animals on a lower level. And then I graduated college. And then once I graduated college, which was probably like 4 or 5 years after I first started.
So is that like 2016?
Yeah, like 2016, 2017. I bounced around schools, so my college length is a little longer than some's, but that was just kind of how it went. And then I had some personal health stuff happen to where I kind of had to take stock of my life and AJ knows what I went through. I don't really feel like talking about it, if that's okay.
Yeah, totally.
It was a hard time in my life, but it really spearheaded this idea that like I want to do something I enjoy. And so I just took stock and I was like, I'm going to go buy this, because I had money at the time that I could spend. And I was like, I'm really going to go for it. And it was a good time at that point to jump in and get some really high end animals. And I had made some friends who helped me out with animals. And that kind of just jump started it. It was like slow, jump right in. And then from that point on, when I jumped in, I had to let go of some stuff that wasn't working out, but I think I still do that. I still am constantly turning stuff over. If it doesn't work out the way that I wanted to, I turn it over, and that's just
you have to do that
ever since. Yeah,
you have to do that. People don't want to think about that because everybody, when you first start, it's like your animals that you raised out, you first bought, you get attached, and you're like, man, this is my pet, and I love this animal. But you can quickly become overrun, especially if you keep breeding those animals. Then, it's really hard to progress your projects and stuff if you get held up. So, just keep the number of pet-only geckos to a minimum. Like I still have a few animals around where it's like, I keep them and I breed them every couple years or whatever, but there's maybe 10 animals like that are like super old school.
Right.
But
yeah, I think it's important to understand where like you are in your life and with your collection. I think, for me, it got to the point where I was like, I want to do something I really love. And so I told myself that this needs to make money at some point. And so when it comes down to it, there's only so much that you can do when it comes to keeping animals around. And I do this for a living. Like I'm a breeder, I breed animals and I sell animals. And so I think there's that justification that I can't keep everything. So I need to rehome this, or I can rehome a breeder. And, for people who have pets, that's great. I mean, we all start somewhere. And if you decide to take that leap and want to keep breeding, you're going to learn that, like you said, you can't keep everything. And you're not going to want to either, because you're going to be like, what am I doing with this? Why is there 25 animals that are just hanging out? I just can't, I can't justify it. I've got dogs for that.
Yeah.
So
that's tough.
It's tough. It's tough, but there's nothing easy about breeding reptiles either.
No, there's good days and bad days for sure.
Right.
So so you did that kind of ramp up. You decided kind of after your health, kind of incident that you really wanted to dive in and take it more seriously and kind of allocate funds and all that. So where would you say kind of you're at now from a number of geckos perspective? Do you feel like you're at a sweet spot? Do you want to go bigger? Do you want to go smaller? Where are you at kind of with that now?
I started the season with a number, and then I recently went into a partnership with another breeder where I maintain her collection on top of my collection. So that was a big fast forward button on where things are. So I'm still kind of like feeling out where I'm at and on the number of animals, but I think I'm at a manageable point.
Is that like 100 breeders?
No, thank God. No way. I don't even have 100. I think it was like 22 breeder females. So it wasn't like a crazy number, but 22 breeder females. If you get
a lot of babies,
that's a lot of babies. Like AJ said. So
that's on top of your collection.
Correct. Okay. Which my collection, I think this year, I have 32 pairs that are producing eggs thus far, with another 10 that should be producing eggs, which is quadruple what I did last year. So I'm in for a big shock as far as babies and time spent. But I'm kind of getting it down. So I stole a trick from Tristan. He posted a video. He's got a video of it on TikTok actually, and AJ and I have talked about this, where he'll just take clean delis or clean enclosures, and he'll just swap the dirty one. It's just a clean one. Take the gecko out, put a new clean one in. You're done, and that just makes things way faster.
Swap get a label that you can move easily.
Right. Yep.
That's if you're able to like have space to store all those massive amounts.
Yeah, I have 500 extra shoe boxes sitting around.
And I have an extra 20K to throw it.
Yep.
It mainly only works for like tubs.
Big.
For like baby tubs, yeah.
I would never. So I was ready for this though, and I think that's one piece of advice I'd give anyone. If you're gonna do it, don't just fly by the seat of your pants. Like, be prepared. Infrastructure wise, you need the room, and you need to be prepared because it's gonna come faster than you are expecting it.
Yeah. And racking and caging is expensive.
Yes.
Like, people don't realize to get, to get a bunch, to get 500 shoe boxes with lids, you're probably looking at $10,000 plus or sorry, 10 with vents, not with lids. Shoe boxes, racks, vents, all that stuff. I mean,
a little bit,
Oh, they're expensive. Yeah, super expensive.
So 30% sale on Container Store's over now. So
I have a funny story about that. So I went down to Atlanta and I did an Atlanta Repticon with AJ and Gabby and Brian. Yeah. And at that show, I had driven down from Illinois, so it was a long ride. And at that show, I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name? It's the two guys. I can't remember his name.
What are we talking about?
Nick or something like that. We were at the Repticon show and he was selling his old rack system. And he had 60, or he had 6.
Oh, I remember you buying the rack, but I don't know who it was.
Yeah, so he had 6 shoebox racks that held like 32 hatchlings in them. And he was selling all of the racks for $600 with the bins included. And I was like, whoa, dude, that is a steal.
Yeah.
So I bought the racks. I didn't tell my wife. So we're packing up for the show, and we've got this little Chevy Equinox that's like a 5-seater SUV that can like.
Did you fit them in?
And I was like, dude, you need to take these apart. Give me all the screws and the shoe boxes. And he's like, okay. So we're in the parking lot taking apart these things. Yeah. We drove home with our trunk halfway open, hinged, because all of the sheets of PVC were sticking out the butt of the
So you drove like 12 hours back like that?
My wife has geckos piled on top of her.
Oh my gosh.
And so she's crammed, and I'm driving with like sheets of PVC up by my head. If we got in an accident, we'd have sheets of PVC flying out.
And geckos.
Cut your head off.
The bumper is like going towards the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Looked like a clown car. But anything to save money on those racks. I mean, they're expensive.
Yeah, they're really expensive.
Yeah. I just paid $500 for a PVC rack of 48 shoe bins without the bins. So
I mean, that's a really good deal. I mean, I've seen some people price like 15 slots for $250.
Oh man,
that's some shows.
I think what it should be based on like, I think it should be like $10 to $12 per slot.
Yeah, mine is about $15 per slot after the round vents and the container. Yeah.
10 to 12, sorry, before the bin.
Yeah,
like seems to be kind of the price.
The bin. Yeah, with the bin, mine is at 15.
Okay, yeah. So you're paying a little premium out in California, but not a lot. Yeah, it's not a huge difference.
Well, you went to Nevada for them, didn't you?
Yeah, I drove down 9 hours to Vegas to pick up these racks because shipping was crazy expensive, and so I'm like,
oh my god, freight is crazy right now,
dude. It's nuts, man.
If you can avoid it, do.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, yeah, it's nuts.
It's crazy. But yeah, so. I guess, just rounding out what we were talking about as far as like picking your projects, picking kind of the animals you're working with. Is there stuff now still that you maybe have your eye on to plug into your projects? What are some things that are on your radar for kind of?
Well, I could use like 5 more of your Felix Julia line breeders.
How many do you have, Kevin?
I got a Felix by Julia female, but I don't have any of the.
No male.
Did you get the one from? Did you get the one from Emily? I never even saw it.
I know. I just went back and grabbed it.
You said to me, "You're like Emily's got this gecko on the table. It's way too cheap," and I go to check it out, and it's not there.
Oh, no.
And so you gotta send me a picture.
Yeah, I'll snitch on myself. I took it, and
I don't care.
I'm probably gonna buy one from you at Flora Fauna if they're there.
Well, yeah, or buy one. I'm putting them on my website tomorrow. So
Okay, well, I'll just talk to you after
Really?
the show's over.
yeah,
I'll just
yeah,
text
yeah,
you.
AJ
yeah.
got you.
But yeah, I mean that for my Project Primetime, it's like a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
As far as like what we're both trying to accomplish. And I really want to work with Nicoletta actually at Juliana's
Yeah.
Geckos. I gotta
Yeah.
give a shout out. Nicoletta is like one of the best people I know. She is like a ball of joy all the time. So I gotta give her a shout out. But her super soft stuff is so nice. What it does to color, it's like her
I
red
wonder.
lilies.
I've wondered
Wow.
if super soft scale would maybe kind of do for crusteds what DG does for balls.
Yes, I agree.
I wonder if that actually is at play.
It'd be
I've
really
theorized
interesting. It would be interesting is if we could see ball python scales like we've photographed crested
I'm
super
sure you
softs,
could. Yeah.
right? Couldn't we ask someone who's got a DG, be like, hey, I need you to photograph a normal and
We'll
then
just
a
ask
hat.
Dorian. We'll ask Dorian.
Oh,
to do
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Dorian could do it. That'd be really interesting. But yeah, I think super soft scale, I think soft scale is going to be in everything at some point. I think it's just a must. I mean, what Sam's posted too with like some of her super soft scale stuff. I mean, I don't have any in my collection, but I would love to add it. And I think
I'm breeding some
targeting.
now, and they're really, really cool. But I only have them in like a few projects.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard though to cross something into a project where you have the super soft scale gene, but you're trying to get into like not just like take 10 steps backward with your project to add soft scale into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's difficult.
So like all my soft scale stuff is in pinstripes. And so I'm like, how do I get it into the Harleys?
Right.
You know, without just totally wrecking them.
Well, and the hard part is that pinstripe is really hard to blow up in one generation. You're gonna get 98 percenters and 80 percenter pins. And it's gonna take another generation. It's just gonna be a lot. Yeah. But I think super soft scale is cool. I think empty back and the super stripe stuff that you guys are infatuated with is really cool. I think.
What do you talk about? We never talk about that.
Yeah, we never talk about it.
AJ's never mentioned those in the
I don't even know what that is.
What is that? Yeah. What is that stuff? Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's a cool time to be in crested geckos. I always say this, and I've heard you echo it too, is I think crested geckos are kind of like the Wild West right now. I think,
for sure.
Anything goes, and you can make your own path if you really want to. I mean, the best example of it is Underground Geckos of Texas with her white wine project, her red porthole project. She just everyone was like, "What are you doing?" And then she blew
everyone's minds.
Blew everybody's minds. And then what happened overnight? Everybody wanted red portholes. So there she is.
And now there's a lot of them out there. It happened pretty quick.
Yeah, it's really amazing, but she still has the best in the game.
Wow,
you can't beat it.
Crazy. How come I've never seen this before? Thanks for
you're welcome. Yeah, you should probably click follow.
No.
Who's got really
wait for her to follow me.
So who has really nice animals from the same stock that she's working with that I saw in person is
Rockstar?
Janine.
No, Janine. Yes. I saw Janine's animals in person, and she had a table with like 10 females that looked like that.
Really?
Dude,
this is nuts. This is crazy. This is really nice.
And people thought she was nuts. People thought she was nuts for the longest time. What do you want a phantom red for? What do you want this for?
Yeah.
And then this happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. I think the next step to that is going to be like Lily orange white. And yellow or and lily white like you have. Mm-hmm. And like Nicole. Nicole has some animals from Rockstar Geckos. I mean, those are sick.
Yeah, these are crazy.
They're sick. Crested geckos are just cool. Like I could geek out about geckos all day. They're so cool.
Very cool.
You know, and
We're
like
sitting
you've got
here
this-
like geckos are cool.
This is called the Gecko Pod. We're trying to convince people that geckos
We're
are
like,
cool.
you know what, guys? These things are pretty cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
funny.
they're sick.
Yes, I absolutely
The-
agree. Yeah.
The stuff that you know, and are people overseas, I think, you know, some people overseas to follow. I think Donnie from Reptile Addicts Hong Kong. I mean, his SPT stuff is like out of control.
Oh yeah.
It's so nice.
Have we ever heard the story of like what the heck that is?
I have no idea. Still don't know. He's finally releasing some, so but he's got a laundry list of people who want
I think
it.
all of them are going to Korea too.
Yeah, so I know Sanha has a leg up. He got some, but he said he had a bunch of Hong Kong buyers. So yeah, I mean, this stuff is just bananas. You know what he's known? What his like? He's got crazy stuff too. Is his Dalmatians? I mean, he's got some of the best Dals around.
Where did he get these from? Did he get these from the U.S. In terms of
no
his original stuff?
I don't know. I'd love to ask him. That's who you guys should try and reach out to because he's. I mean, I'd imagine he speaks very good English from when I've talked to him.
Yeah.
What's the time difference? Like 14 hours, 15 hours?
Yeah, we can make it work.
Oh yeah,
that's cool too.
Wow, this is cool. This
That's wild.
It's so covered.
Red
Look at the
Lily.
coverage on this such expression of this lily white. It's crazy.
Is that even like is that even like a phantom at that point? There's got to be a secondary gene on top of that.
That's a phantom.
This
just a high expression.
Yeah, super high expression phantom lily white.
Wow.
That thing's cool. Yeah, because you get on some of the phantom lily whites, the backs, it looks like there's color, but it's actually the back graying out. It's like the back will go like gray. It's really
which that had,
odd.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Do you think that's like the influence of like white spot in the pairing?
It could be. I mean, I have a yellow one and I have a red one that both like appear to have pattern, but I think it's just like gray overtaking.
Wow.
So.
Killer.
But yeah.
He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I talk to him a lot. So he's a cool guy.
Yeah, Kevin, in terms of your, the newer morphs, do you have any Axe, Exantics, or Sables in your? We know you have caps. We'll talk about that in a second. But do you have any Exantics, Sables, or are you looking to get some?
I would love to work with the Sables. I think since they hatched out that Super Sable Lily White, that
thing's insane.
Whoa! I think that was everything that we had hoped the Super Cappuccino Lily would be. Yeah. But we got it. So beggars can't be choosers at this point. We got it. It just wasn't what the gene everybody wanted it to be. So I would love to work with it, though. I probably will end up working with Gabby at some point. Gabby and I are good friends. So if I'm going to work with anybody, I'm going to work with a friend on it. And that's what it comes back to at the end of the day, right? You're going to do business with your friends first. And so, and I've seen Cuckoo's Nest in person, and I mean, I was blown away. I didn't want to leave without it, to be honest.
Yeah, we were interviewing. We had Donna on last week, right? And then and then that day or the next day, she was getting her Sable. It looks amazing, right? She got that from Gabby. So beautiful, dude. It's crazy. Yeah. The contrast and the fringe and the patterning. It's amazing.
Well, and it couldn't have gone to like a better person to work the project, in terms of like getting it into the right hands. I think Donna has a really good eye for projects and building projects.
Agreed.
I love working with her. I think she's an awesome person, and her animals speak for themselves. So I think it couldn't have gone to a better place. So and cool. Kyle from Cryptiles has it too. Kyle and Danielle. He's got a really good eye for the animals. So I think they're in a good spot. And I think it comes down to like with Sables, and with any of these other genes, you have to be really ultra specific about the line and the animal you're getting that gene from. I think that's uber important. Like a cap is not a true statement. Not all are made the same. And 100%. The same with Sable. A Sable is not a Sable is not a Sable. It's just it's not. So you have to be ultra specific about where you get that animal from. And like Cuckoo's Nest you couldn't pick a better option because like that animal's jet black and paper white. Yeah. So it's a dream animal.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have any Exantics?
I don't.
Okay.
I have a good friend of mine who's working with Axanthic lily whites. Doug Cooley at Ridiculous Rex.
Yep.
He's got the Axanthic lilies. Cool. He's got a project going. So if I work with anybody, I'll probably work with them. Or I know AJ's got a stud male. So I've got a few friends that I know that are working with them. So it's always good I like keeping tabs on projects that other people are working with. Right now, I'm not necessarily putting my money into the Axanthics just because it never was my thing. So I never wanted to chase the money. I never wanted to chase the paper because that's not what I'm about. I'm more about like, it has to excite me, and it just never really excited me. But to each their own,
fair.
right?
That's fair.
You know, I mean, the same way with Dals. I never loved Dals. Can I respect an awesome Dal, and will I drool over them? Sure, but I just never was like, let me go grab 12 grand and make a project.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
just pulling up Cuckoo's Nest, so for us to like be in awe of.
Yeah, I'm true story.
Skinwalker's wild looking too in person.
Yes, very much so.
He's cool. He's like more like gray. He almost Skinwalker in person looks like Axanthic lily white. He's really cool.
Interesting. Well, I've always liked, you can always tell a sable from a cap by the head. It always has this like bluish hue.
And the fringe is
and
crazy
the fringe.
too.
The fringe and the blue hue on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the super fluffy white too.
Yes. Yeah, you can't beat it. It'll be interesting to see what you can do with like empty back with it and super stripe.
I want to see what happens when people make phantom ones, because I haven't really seen a phantom one. I want to see what people do when they try to breed sable to different base colors, like breed it to like really pale hypo yellows, breed it to reds, because it obviously it's messing with the base color. It's not, you're not going to be able to probably make bright yellow ones, you know. It seems like it has kind of a melanin increasing effect. From the babies I've seen over at Gabby's house, they'll start like not that dark and not that white, and then as they grow, it's like, oh man, they get crazy white and they get crazy dark. Wow. You know, so there's something that is obviously changing pigment over time when they develop.
I mean, are caps very similar in terms of as they grow, the contrast and the darkness and gets darker?
Yeah, it seems like with caps though, their white goes yellow over time.
Okay.
A lot of
and that could be a matter of the breedings too. That's something. Yeah, it could be. You know, I think I prematurely judged lily whites for that reason. When I first saw lily whites, some of the first ones I saw at Tinley, I said, that's neon yellow. Why is it yellow? Why is that being called a lily white? That's not white, that's yellow. But then I saw AJ's animals at that same one, and they were like stark white, and they were some of the nice lilies I've ever seen. So I think it all comes down, you know, I'll say it again, it comes down to where you get the animal from and what the pairings are.
And selecting, because like I got mine direct, I got my lilies direct from Lily Exotics, but when I got the original, like when they sent me 15 different geckos to choose from, there was ones that had yellow pattern and there was ones that had white pattern. Right. And there was ones that had like more solid dorsals and ones that had more open dorsals. So I went white and like totally full dorsals. Like basically there was it was just cream. It was just white. The dorsal was totally full of cream. So that was how I picked out of the ones. I didn't pick the ones that had the most coverage. I also, the first round of lilies when I bought, so I don't know when this would have been, 2013 or something, when I bought my lily whites, the first rounds of ones that shipped had really bad head structure. And so out of all of the ones I had choice, my number one pick was color and head structure. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care. Actually, I cared about no Dalmatian spots too. So I had like three things I was going for. But I kind of looked past base color, didn't really care. I looked past amount of like side pattern, didn't really care. I just cared about head structure, all the stuff that I couldn't fix quickly, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I needed to make sure that I didn't have all those pitfalls that I then had to dig myself out of. So same thing with the cap. Like, that's why, you know, I think Kevin and I made a similar choice on where we got caps from, and obviously
Yeah.
Harry too. So
yeah. So
Right.
I mean, talking about the caps. We got our caps from Janine at Treehouse. I saw your cap, Kevin, and it was, dude, that thing is beautiful, dude.
I know, and I got to hand pick it, which was
frap,
awesome.
right?
It's a frap. Okay,
Yeah.
and it's not.
Is that a boy or a girl?
Is that on your page?
I looped it. Yeah, I looped it myself.
Nice.
I made there it says it's actually like a video.
It's a video. It says
like
let me pull it up there.
It's extreme caution, her caution, extreme happiness or something like that. Yeah, right here.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. So I got to
How's he doing?
That thing.
Awesome.
Oh, killer. I love it. I couldn't be more obsessed with an animal in my entire life. I went to the Arlington show just to scope it, as you know I like to do with you. Mm-hmm. And I saw Janine's booth, and I walked up to the booth, and I gave her a big hug, and I was like, it's so good to see you. These caps are incredible. And she's like, she had everything on display. She had her adult original female lily. She had a phantom cap. She had like, just you name it. She had every phenotype. And then she pulls out these deli cups from behind the table, and she was like, I'm not showing these to everybody, but check these out. And I like, my brain went like this. And so then I was like, can I be care if I loop it? And she was like, sure, you can loop them. So I looped them, and I hit paid her on this one.
Yeah.
She had a higher expression white one that was female that I would have taken if it was male, but it wasn't. But I'm okay with this one being the male. And then I asked her for the price, and she hit me with the price, and I couldn't say no. I just was like, yeah, let's make it work. And I wasn't planning on spending any money. So, but
that's awesome, man.
I made a very, very dedicated point to be like, I cannot have Dalmatian spots in this project, and neither parent has Dalmatian spots. And so I was confident in the purchase.
Yeah, that's good. In terms of, I remember you kind of like swapped in terms of your thoughts on what caps are. I was just curious initially, why were you like not a fan of caps?
I saw a lot of people doing stupid stuff with lilies, and I thought they would do the same stupid stuff with caps. I thought that they would try to be ignorant about it and try and produce a bunch of supers. And
I see.
That's
got it.
There were
I'm
people
glad
who
it didn't go that way.
Me too. Yeah. I'm really happy it didn't go that way. I'm really happy people are showing restraint and not doing it for a quick buck. And
got it. Yeah.
So that was why I was really against it. I just didn't trust people enough to do the right thing.
Yeah, something simple. Yes, but as we see more people have these, and seems like they're overall being more responsible with it, and amazing things are popping out from it. It's a
lot of people I respected gave me a lot of confidence when I would talk to them about it and would say my concerns, and they would say, well, I just don't. People that I've talked to are going to say they're not going to do that. And so if those people that I trust are having conversations where they're hearing they're not going to, those people that they're talking to are not going to do it, then I can trust that, because what's the telephone? If the message is the same from the people that I'm talking to about the conversations they've had with other people, then I can be confident that train goes a pretty long ways.
Right.
And I can get into the project and feel good about it.
Cool.
Plus, it's got the lily white gene stacked on it, so I know they can't go crazy with breeding fraps to fraps. So
fraps, lilies, lilies to lilies, caps. Cool. No, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool to see. Are these some of your more exciting projects moving forward? Or are you still gonna focus more on your tricolors, and what's that look like for your upcoming season or two? This is still pretty small, so you still have.
I mean, my taste in geckos, if this podcast hasn't said anything, is that it's all over the place. I just like the species. I just geek out about animals. I have ever since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I've had Pueblan milk snake. I've had bearded dragons. I've had fish. I've had dogs. I've had cats. I've had anoles. I've had just all kinds of stuff. And so having a species that is so phenotypically different and variable has kept me focused and excited tenfold.
Yeah.
And now I can branch out into other species as well and keep that same excitement. So I think, the most exciting thing is actually seeing what's the next hot thing that's posted. What's the next cool thing someone decides to prove out, and for me to go, whoa, like I'm excited all over again. And that's something I get to wake up to every day when I open up my phone and look at Instagram.
I think that's so cool. What you're saying right now and what Donna said about just such an exciting time, and what a lot of people have said is that seeing you guys like longtime breeders are just excited even years into your projects, years into breeding, and doesn't seem like you guys are bored at all. And I love that.
Yeah,
love
we're
that.
not. Yeah, we're not. I mean,
It
like
gives me so much
AJ,
hope.
yes, yes, we're not going anywhere. Let's put it that way. I'm 29, so I've got a long ways to go. I'm only going to add species. Like I've got the boas. I want to do boas, and got some other species earmarked. It just takes time. Be patient. I think that's the best advice I could give anybody is this thing. Reptiles teach you patience.
Yes.
They teach you that things don't happen overnight. And that's the fun in it all, is that they don't happen overnight. And you get to form these friendships. I mean,
I love the long grind.
Yeah.
Long
that's the best part.
That's my jam. I love it.
Long grind. And, AJ and I have been friends for years, and we talk about all the things that we see in the future and what's going to change. And I mean, now we have flora fauna. I mean, like, it's going to be even more crazy because all of us are going to have this like really close knit community that like 10 years ago we dreamed about. And now it's here to where like people are flying across the world to come to one place to just hang out and talk geckos. And so I think it's just going to only add to the fuel to the fire and make things awesome.
So speaking of, you said something about things changing and the excitement of that. I have a question kind of in relation to that. I wanted to ask you, I think about this right now when I see all of these new genes emerging, right? What do you see? Do you see crested geckos going the way of ball pythons, leopard geckos, where selective breeding is going to kind of like be a thing of the past? You're going to be seen as a dinosaur if you're just like selective breeding for quality, and like everything is just going to be gene stacking? Or what's your prediction? Maybe prediction and what you want to happen, because I think those are two different answers probably.
So I'll answer and then you tell me what you're thinking, because you've already got this in your head. So what I'll say is
I mean, I think I probably gave you my opinion already, but
yes, from before. But yes, so I'm an optimist. I look at the ball python industry as like a forecast of our future. I think you can learn a lot of lessons and avoid a lot of mistakes if you heed the advice of the people who have been doing it forever. Because a gene is a gene is a gene. There's nothing special about our genes as opposed to a ball python's genes. And the way that market works is just going to mirror how our market works. With that being said, I have never heard a ball python person geek out more about a line of a gene than when they talk about Barnhart line black pastels. So Tom Barnhart is a ball python breeder, but he was infatuated with the black pastel, which is a specific gene. And what he did is he just selectively bred it to have the best phenotypic expression of that gene. And they rant and rave that they only want black pastel from Tom Barnhart's line. And so I think that with that in mind, you can keep some faith that there's going to be selective breeding along the lines
of the traits.
Because just like we said with sable, a sable is not a sable is not a sable. A cap is not a cap is not a cap.
Xanthics to all of that, yeah.
So which is gonna make people feel even better about their investment at the levels that sometimes is expected of them, is because just because you have the gene doesn't mean you're not doing this. You're servicing the gene well. And if you take the time and you breed it correctly and you start producing phenotypes that are better expressions and better examples, people are going to do business with you over your competition.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it's going to be. I think you have to have both. You have to have everything in mind when you're doing this. You have to have it in mind that you are always constantly trying to improve something, whether that's that specific gene or the way that the genes are stacked. You're always improving something. You're always trying to make the animal better. There's always a reason you're breeding that animal.
Yeah, and I think what also is going to play into that is, in order to do what we're talking about, you can't always be the person who buys the gene first, right?
Right.
Because, you know, you might need to see some of that stuff work itself out. Like with caps, like if I would have just, right off the bat bought the first cap I could, I think I would be kind of kicking myself now.
Yeah.
And I think we all would be feeling that. But as far as like selecting for the right one, or maybe really dialing in what you want to do with the project. So whether you want like a phantom one or not, or you want one with spots, without spots, one that's more orange based versus dark based, all of those different things, head structure. I think all that is going to play into the future. And another thing, you'd mentioned ball pythons. Ball pythons, a difference between that and a crested gecko is within ball pythons, there is a normal in a ball python. There is not a normal in crested geckos because there was wild type genes that came in, like
right.
Dalmatian spots and tiger and phantom. But like there is no actual normal in a crested gecko.
Right.
Yeah.
What is an animal that has 0 genes expressing in it? We don't have one.
Right.
So I think that will also play into it. Is you have also like the difference between a normal harlequin and what Pangea called the triple X was a lot of tiger. Right. Mass amounts of tiger expression. So I think we'll even see that where you're using those original wild type genes to influence these modern genes.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
So that will give us a lot of longevity too. There's just so much runway to work on stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we'll ever run out of things to try.
No, and I think that why I say I also getting back to why I feel like crested geckos are the wild west is that we have only had so many breedings of the crested gecko. Our initial import size was so small that we're finally catching up to the numbers that are a single year in Africa in terms of producing ball pythons and looking for random mutations. They're just mass producing, pulling eggs from the wild. Nobody's pulling eggs from New Caledonia.
No, they're not collecting a bunch of females, letting them all lay out, looking for different genes. Yeah.
Right. So they can't cherry pick. So their rate of market maturation was much faster than ours will ever be. And that's another reason why you can have faith in investing in this species, is that we're kind of on this like slow roll and we're just finally starting to see it accelerate to where we kind of have some momentum right now. And I think it's only going to go and pick up.
Yeah. No, I think that it is a exciting future for those that are doing what you're saying, where we are taking quality and traits and working together. I think it's probably going to be sad if you don't want to work with any of the genes, because you're probably going to see some really cool animals made that you're going to be like, oh man, that would be so cool to have. But it's going to take me 10 years to make one now because I didn't want to work with it,
Right.
I think the whole chat about this is very exciting, even for new breeders that aren't sure what's what, because I think they can find what they like, niche down, and build a completely different thing that nobody has seen before, right? Because of how you can change different traits and all the different stuff you're working with. And so I think there's a lot of room for a lot of people to work on different things, And
Harry, I gotta ask you. I'm gonna be the interviewer now for a second.
Yeah.
So, as someone who's newer, to the community, do you ever find yourself overwhelmed with anything as far as like just the sheer amount of breeders out there or the animals? Yeah. Like, is there anything that you've found yourself overwhelmed with at any time?
I think the aspect of being overwhelmed is mainly the care. I think not knowing, like all the stuff that's going to come about and how you have to change and tweak different things. In terms of the community aspect and the different breeders, that stuff to me, it just takes time. I say this all the time, like there's no shortcut to community and knowing people. And so a lot of these breeders that you guys mentioned, I don't know, I'm just getting to know. This is the
Right.
first. This is the first week I've messaged Nicoletta because I saw her on the Flora Fauna page. I didn't really know about her before until this week, And so I think I'm not overwhelmed by that just because there are a lot of breeders and people message us, and I love getting to know people, and that's just the name of the game for the long run is just to getting to know people. That doesn't bother me. But the care and trying to figure out what's what, that did take a little bit of time to work out. Like I was asking AJ, I was like, what is a phantom for the longest time, right, AJ?
Yeah.
There's all these like different expressions of phantom. And
you send me a picture of a gecko, and you're like, "This isn't a phantom." I'm like, "That's a phantom." You're like, "No."
So now just asking a lot of questions and bothering AJ a lot. It's helped me to understand a lot of these different morphs and traits. And even for the tigers, man, right now I'm still trying to figure out what a tiger is exactly in terms of like
tiger's a tough one.
Yeah, AJ, is this a tiger? He's like, no, that's a Harley. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, it is, and I tell you, like, it is a tiger, but it also has other. It has like flame, or like high expression flame, or it's not a phantom tiger. It is a pattern tiger.
Correct. And so the charts that tell you the morphs, I'm like that gives you like a base knowledge, but once you insert all these different traits into it, it gets confusing.
And there's animals out there that will never be on any chart because they're like weird examples that are one-offs that they're not going to make in a chart.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, people create different lines of stuff, and I think that's where, as a new breeder, it was confusing earlier on. It's like, what is that? What's a line? What's a morph? You get a little bit confused if you don't have these conversations.
I think the thing also, Harry, like I think about the way that we've named morphs is kind of like the English language, where we have different, like the words that we use for certain things don't make any sense.
Yes.
Right.
So now it shows the age of like, we call things tiger. Like this is a tiger.
Yeah.
But what we actually should be saying is that's a phantom tiger.
Yeah.
But we don't say that. And so it's like what we would have defined as a tiger before is actually a phantom tiger or a patternless tiger. And then also a triple X is a tiger, but it also is not a phantom tiger. So to just call something a tiger, or
it's too vague.
Or to call something a pinstripe, there's phantom pinstripes, and there's quad stripes.
Right? What is brindlequin? Like what?
Like, all right, now we're getting into
the that's broken water.
Yeah, everything just gets mixed in. So I was like,
I still don't know what a brindlequin is. I try.
So what I do is I just look at a ton of examples. People name, sometimes you have to go with experienced people that know the morphs, and so you hear them calling it this, and this, and then I begin to pick up on it. I think that part as a new breeder is quite difficult to figure out what's what. And so that has been a learning curve, because even now, like I'm a year and a half in, I'm still asking AJ what a tiger is, right? So that part is more difficult. Yes,
it's like AJ said, it's like a language, and you have to what's the best way to learn a language, they always say, is to put it into action, and to actively use it is the best way to, because then you have those conversations where they're like, no, it's actually this. And
it might not make sense.
Right.
You got to talk to a native speaker of this weird language we speak.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's with any hobby, like even plants, as I kind of like look into plants and like, what the hell is all this stuff?
Oh man, I haven't gone down that rabbit hole, but I know it's waiting for me. know it's waiting for me.
Yeah. You got to get into the plant game. You got to hit up Flexi. Yeah, so
Lexi will hook you up.
But no, it's to be expected, right? My former work was like church stuff and theology, right? And there's so many terms that, as a new person, you just don't know. But over time, maybe 2-3 years, just always talking about the same thing, learning, you begin to pick up, and it becomes like a language, right? And you understand it very easily. Right. And so it's just a learning curve for me right now, and I'm hoping that in year 2, year 3. I'll have things a little bit more dialed in terms of being able to pick out different things and understanding that, this affects this, and so.
I only ask because I as like a breeder and someone who wanted to be a teacher at some point. I'm always looking for ways that I can better serve someone looking to like learn about something that I have knowledge on. And so I only ask because if there's anything that I can do better to make it easier, I want to do that, because you're not a one-off. Like there's so many people who keep these species. And so if we can do better, just as a hobby, or for anyone who's listening, if there's anything we could do better, then
that was a good question.
I want to know it.
It's a good question. It's just troublesome for breeders because there's so much explanation that has to go into it, and even as a new breeder, you'll be like, I don't know still, it just takes a lot of time, so.
Harry, my favorite thing right now is I get probably like 5 messages a day with people sending me pictures of geckos saying, is this an empty back? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not the right person to ask.
Yeah.
You're the empty back pro, man.
I'm the new who was everybody sending possible cat pictures to? Was it
Steve Early?
Was it Steve Early, or I don't know. Somebody was just getting a million photos a day. Probably like, is this a cap? I'm at a reptile show. Is this a cap?
Oh my God.
I feel like that's becoming me with the EBs, which I am not qualified to do, but I try to help if I can. But
have you seen some of the stuff that Anthony Campanetto has posted recently with like the empty back and like the Pixel project? And
Let's pull it up.
Pretty wild.
Pixel's cool. I still don't know. It's cool. I don't know how. I still got to see it used in like a way that would be cool to me. Like I saw that one pinstripe, like quad one, that was really cool. But that was kind of the only one that really kind of captivated me at all.
Yeah, he's posted some wild stuff.
Yeah,
he's got some cool stuff right now for sure.
A quick pivot, Kevin. I wanted to ask you about shows. You've been to a lot of shows. You've been to shows on the East Coast. You've been to shows in the South, Arlington. You've been to shows over here in the West Coast. What is
Florida, Georgia, North Carolina?
I think that's very valuable to see kind of the lay of the land in terms of what's at the shows, the market, and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences between these types of shows in the different areas?
Yeah, it's kind of wild actually. Every show has their like species or like form of vertebrate that they really like. So West Coast people, it's kind of a hodgepodge. It's just kind of a little bit of everything. Chameleons are probably the hallmark species though on the West Coast. You're never going to see chameleons anywhere else.
A lot of chameleons,
except on the West Coast.
Yeah,
and down
Florida,
down south,
there's chameleons in Florida too.
But most of them are illegal at this point. Like panthers and veileds, I don't think you can keep at shows, but I could be wrong. At Florida, I would say the hallmark species are tortoises and turtles. There's you'll never see more tortoises and turtles at any other show than in Florida, because there are specific species that they can keep a lot of them outside, and a lot of them can't cross state lines. Like radiata cannot. Only Florida, and they can only be gifted. So like I could have them in Illinois, but they have to be gifted to me from a family member who is a resident of Florida. So there's a lot of things that make it difficult for those species to leave the state. So that's like why Florida is like, if you want to see tortoises and turtles, or you want to keep them and you love them, move to Florida. I would say Texas, they have a huge amount of people who are really into green tree pythons. They love their green tree pythons down there. There's a whole ton of people who keep them down there, and you'll actually see them at shows, and I've never seen them anywhere else. Midwest, geckos, man. I mean, there's no better spot for geckos. I mean, it's just a hotbed. It's no wonder I got into them, because you see a lot of them at the shows. I mean, ball pythons, you're going to see them everywhere. And then East Coast, I haven't been to like an East Coast show outside of Flora Fauna. But that's geckos as well. But I know like New York has some funky exotic laws. So like I would say like Pennsylvania would be more of a better pulse as far as like what actively is kept on the East Coast. And I think it's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then North Carolina, they've got a super healthy gecko market because of people like Gabby. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And then now AJ, I mean, Gabby cultivated a huge market. I mean, the amount of people that come up to her booth and talk to her and shoot the breeze, I mean, I had never seen anything like it. Because you go to a local show around me that's not Tinley, it's terrible.
Yeah, there's no relationships and camaraderie at All Animal Expo.
No.
And you can go to like Raleigh Repticon and everybody's hanging out and everybody's
you
cool.
You can see Sam and Allie all the way in from Virginia that came to do the show because it's so good. Or like people like Da Vinci Boa come up and do the show from Florida. Like that doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. Yeah. And so there's definitely a huge sense of camaraderie in the Carolinas. I think the Carolinas are a super viable market, not only from like a real estate perspective, but just like families moving to the state and like the camaraderie that's been cultivated there by the people.
A lot of new jobs, a lot of people moving there. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of access, a lot of disposable income, shipping weather. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my takeaway from Vegas was a total bust. It was really sad. Brian Butler had a heck of a show. But
we all know about Brian Butler with his
but that was kind of it was basically Brian and Melanie.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I had introduced because. Funny enough, we're in Vegas and we have all of our Korean clients have flown in to see Brian Butler for his Axanthic release. And, I recognize, I have my Fireside shirt on, so they recognize me and they're like, oh, and then I introduced them to Melanie. And so then they're at Melanie's table buying animals. And but it was like Melanie and Brian. That was it.
Melanie Bertopia, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she's got really nice animals. I think a lot of people sleep on her, but I've got stock from her. She's got really, really nice gargoyles.
Yeah.
So
she's got nice animals all around.
Yeah,
sure.
She does. She's got some really, really nice stock. That's actually where I got one of my breeder animals, Muir, who's breeding this season. He had bred for her, and she had too many holdbacks from him that she decided to part with him, and so I lucked into that one. But
nice.
She's been around for a while. She's been around for a while.
Really long time.
She just went full time. Actually, she finally quit her job and she's doing it full time. So she graduated. Let's put it that way.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that that full time thing is pretty. That's a big jump. Is that something that you want to do eventually, Kevin, or no? Do you like the balance of having a day gig, like a day job, and?
No, I mean, like, I'm totally open to it. I mean, I'm all for like having multiple revenue streams and doing all kinds of stuff with my life. If I have to have an employee or two, I'm okay with that, because ultimately they're only helping me better provide a product, right? There's no harm in that. And I think, I'm always going to want to keep it more quality over quantity. So, but I think that's a good rule of thumb. I mean, like, if you're like a factory and you're producing thousands of animals, I mean, you're going to have a hard time unless you're only asking $200 for those animals. Yeah. So I think the goal for us will be like having crusteds, having Chihuahua, having just a good assortment of things that I can have fun with at the end of the day. Yeah. And I'm an entrepreneur during the day as well with my father. So I don't plan on having a job, but but
that is your job.
Doing it full time. I don't know. I think that's a weird term to have it. I think the better term would be like sole source of income. Because I don't even know if I would consider you full time, AJ, personally by my definition. Because like you're doing plants too, and like you have other ambitions outside of.
I don't really make money at anything else, but
no, but
it's sole source of income.
Right, but you have like multiple streams. It's not like geckos. You could go to a plant show and sell plants.
I could. Right? I don't, but
so that's all I mean. But I think it's cool, and I support anybody who does it. I think that's a lot of pressure, and we've talked about this in the past to have that kind of pressure to put on those animals. It skews the way that I feel like I might end up looking at it. And I don't know if I want to ever feel that way.
Yeah, you want to still enjoy the projects and the animals. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I think I've seen too many people who look at these animals as dollar signs, and I'm not by any means saying AJ does that, because like
Big time.
that's not, yeah,
Yeah.
right. But I've seen people who do it, and they get really mad when like you steal a sale from them. Like I had someone cuss me out at a show because I was trying to help a customer of mine in the past who was like a 12-year-old kid figure out why he killed his animal. And so I walked him away from the table to correct his husbandry and show him the products he needed. And that person who was relying on that sale, like verbally cussed me out at the show saying I stole his client. And I just always have that in the back of my head as like, I don't want to be that person. I want to always be able to walk away and say, you're going to kill it. Get your husbandry right, and then come and see me. I don't want to have to say, I need to make a sale for my table today. Here's a gecko you're going to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah. You never want to get to that point, for sure.
Right. You never want that pressure.
Yeah, I think that's a good
But I think
kind of takeaway.
I think you can run your business in a way that you never have to feel that way too. So
yeah,
I think it's
totally.
Yeah.
Like I just think for me, like with the auction, for example, like selling geckos on there, sometimes there's people that are like, oh, this is my first gecko. But most of the time when people find themselves landing in that space of like the YouTube auction or whatever, they're already pretty bought in that they're into it. So, and then you end up having a conversation, and I have a whole note in my phone now of just like links I send people and education, and places where I send people to buy products and all this stuff. So it's, you just gotta kind of find how to, educate people and make sure you're doing the right thing. So.
Well, and I think a reason that I'll say I never will be full-time too is because like I have another business that I also run during the day that is completely mine. So I think for me to say I'm going to do this full-time would be like, I'm giving up that business, selling it, and just doing the geckos. And I don't think in my brain, I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'll just do both.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess you could say in a lot of ways, I'm full-time with it now. I just happen to run something else as well.
Yeah.
So, because like when I come home, like I'll talk to my wife and I'll say, I have to go back there. Like they're reliant on me. Like this is a form of money for us. Like it's not like, oh, I'm going to go and spray the cages. Do you want to hang out while I do that? Like, no, like there's definitely a mission involved.
Yeah.
So.
No,
that's cool.
I mean, I guess you could say I'm full time. I don't know. I mean, I guess when you spend $6,000,
you don't have a normal job.
When you have 50 readers, you're almost there.
Yes, exactly. So when you've got like investment boas and you're dabbling in other stuff, and you've got 15 grand in cages, like you're no longer a hobbyist. There's no way. There's no way.
You're quite up there. Yeah. We've talking about the excitement of kind of the hobby in general and all the different morphs, and it's a good time to come in. Now talking about the market, I know we had a crazy year last year. That's when I jumped in at the peak, and you jumped in at the peak as well. I just found out today. Back then,
yes.
From where we're at right now, Kevin, from your perspective, we're kind of in a downswing a little bit, but looking forward for let's say the next couple years or even further out, what is your projection? You mentioned something about the boa and the boas and how they kind of tracks a little bit in terms of the market. What's your take on the market standpoint and moving forward?
I just think people need to stop having the frame of mind that they're going to get a certain dollar amount because like they were flying off the shelves. It's a commodity that was never intended to fly off the shelves. It just never was. It's an animal, and at the end of the day, like certain breedings and certain offspring are going to fly off the shelves, and you're going to get a premium price for it. But about 60 to 70% are they're not that quality, and that's not your buyer. That's and when we were getting those crazy numbers, we had a market that had top end people who were then reselling those animals to people who were eager to get in to do what those people were doing. They just didn't have access to the numbers or the quality. And that's where we were getting these crazy numbers from, because those crazy numbers were either being resold or they were being brokered, and the broker was buying that animal for another person in that marketplace. Whereas in today, that marketplace is, I would say,
Flooded.
I wouldn't say, I don't know if I would say flooded, because they're not wholesaling super high end stuff, but they are they're reversing everything. So now it's coming,
maybe not flooded, but maybe we'd say
saturated.
Satisfied.
Yes, I would say satisfied.
The demand has been satisfied.
It's been tempered. Yes, it's been tempered. Because the demand was like, I never would have expected it. It was bananas. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's just going to keep going like this? I mean, no. I think at some point it's going to level off. And I think that you're going to have all these people who are starting to stack stuff, come out with animals, and those animals are going to go for a premium. Yeah. And all of those animals that have the genetic backing, if they're het or, a single gene form of it, I think those animals will go for a healthy amount. But I think we could see a market depreciation by like 25%, I think, is a healthy number.
Fair. But to be fair, we were probably up about 50%. So even recently, or if not more.
Right.
If not 100%.
Right. Yeah. In some cases, the numbers were astronomical. And people made retirements off of that. I mean, Brian Butler, found himself in just perfect timing. What did some people
Good for him. That's awesome.
He bought his Shelby.
Right.
not his Shelby. His Mustang.
Right. He bought a Shelby.
He did.
And he bought a retirement home and some property, and but I will give the man props. He bet on himself when no one else was willing to do it, and he saw the project through. He marketed it correctly, and he held back animals that he needed to, and then he cashed in his chips like every good businessman should. He's a smart dude. He's a smart dude, and I got to give him his props. So he deserves that retirement. And for the rest of us, I don't think we're ever going to see that kind of money for crested geckos again. But I could be wrong. But I just don't think we'll ever see that kind of money again for crested geckos. So, but I think we'll see some of it. I mean, I think that like what we're seeing with like the sables, I think that's good. I mean, that's good money for a crested gecko. I mean, $8,000 for an animal. I mean, it's a lot of money.
Dude, I still think like $400-$500 is still a great price for a gecko.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I base my books off. I told you I was an open book. I mean, like, I'm happy to make $450 on an animal. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, especially for an animal that just does not take a lot of money to rear. Yeah. I mean, how much money do you think goes into a crested gecko in terms of insects and Pangea diet? It's not a lot.
Yeah.
In terms of
more than it used to be, but still,
it's definitely more. I mean, Pangea's prices went up, and a whole bunch of other things, but like the cost of water and electricity and all this stuff. I mean, it's like nothing. So
yeah.
But I think that what you get paid for it's just like a painting, right? You're never going to get the same thing twice, and you have to be rewarded at some point for the work that you put in to see the project through to get it to the point where it's at. And so if you want to ask like $1,200, $2,000 for your best painting from that season of what you're willing to sell, I think you should be rewarded. Yeah. Like take Emily Burke, for instance. I mean, she took pinstripes when people were like, nah, it's a pinstripe. And now people fall over themselves to get access to them. But she saw it through. She had a vision, she saw it through, and so she should be rewarded as such, because I think that's all that we're doing at the end of the day is, the gecko is a canvas, and we're trying to create something visually appealing. So
yep. And a lot of those things take a very long time to realize.
Totally.
So, like to come to fruition, it takes a long time.
Absolutely. So, I couldn't agree more. So
like when I see people price animals, when I see people price animals high, I'm like, if the animal is worth it, I'm all for it. If I can see that, like, oh yeah, there's no way I can make that animal. Like I can see all the time they put into it.
Right.
I'm all about that. When I see people charging crazy prices for crappy stuff, though, I'm not. I'm like, all right,
Right.
have fun with that,
Right.
but we'll see.
Yeah,
Well,
we should have.
or they haven't had like a reality check, like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I think you need to be prudent, and I think it's twofold. It's not being absurd with your pricing, but it's also not being disrespectful for your pricing, because you could totally be a jerk and be like, I don't need the money for this Azanthic, so I'm going to sell my Azanthics for $300 because the money ain't nothing to me, and I just need to get rid of these animals, so I'm going to price them for $300. Well, you're doing everybody else who's invested in that project a disservice, because you're dropping the floor. You're dropping the price floor.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a collectiveness to keep the floor where it should be, but then there's also something to be said to where you're so out of whack with what is going on in the marketplace to have your prices all the way up here.
There's
And
a
I
lot
think
of that.
some people haven't woken up yet and realized that it's 2023 and we're kind of in a downswing economically. And if you want to move an animal, drop your prices. Don't complain about it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's good.
totally.
That'd be a good episode sometime, just about general principles of like pricing. Obviously, the actual numbers move as we kind of go through the years, but that'd be cool to have like a general practice of how to price things, what to look for, things like that. Yeah, that'd be
I
a good
think,
episode.
I mean, like I like Noah is one of my closest confidants when it comes to this. And like, for the longest time, we would like take photos and be like, hey, like, what do you think we should price this at? I don't want to be disrespectful and price it too high and like be laughable to my clients, but I also don't want to like leave money on the table, because I think that's, and I think we all do that at shows, like I'll come talk to AJ and he'd be like, how's pricing? And I'll be like, oh, like, I think you're on the money, and he'll do the same service for me. I think it's like, it's an unspoken thing that you do for each other that I think is really important. And I think when people are just blatantly obtuse to the fact that we all talk to each other, it's like, you can't complain. You have to, we all talk.
That's something that I think that's interesting that you brought that up, because I do that almost every show I go to. I go and I walk the show and I try to see like reference animals and what they're priced at, so I know kind of what the market is in that show. Because I don't want to roll up to some show, and I also don't want to like downprice myself. Like when we went to Baltimore, for example, I went to Baltimore and I looked around the show and I'm like, there's no expensive animals here. I'm going to feel like a total tool putting out like $4,000 geckos. So I just left them in the box. I didn't even bring them out because I'm like, all right, I'm not going to even put those on the table because I don't want to create that image. And it's like, all right, I'm just going to lean into like what this show is. And I'm going to sell the stuff that I think will actually appeal to the crowd here. But I think that sometimes if you roll into like Tinley, like go as hard as you want, you can bring the craziest of the craziest animals and put your price on them. I don't think, for the most part, I don't think anyone's going to like roast you for it, as long as you're within like, planet Earth levels of pricing,
Right.
But
Tinley's unique because of it's like a breeder convention.
But like, for example, this past Tinley, Kevin, you saw it. You could, at this last Tinley, you could have spent $6,000 or $500 for a cappuccino.
Yes.
Wow.
Those two prices existed in one show.
But what's funny?
There is a quality difference.
Right.
There obviously is. But was there a 10 times quality difference? No.
Well, do you want to hear a funny story about that?
Sure.
So I vend with Doug. Doug Cooley. He's a great friend of mine.
Ridiculous Rex.
And he was one of the people who had cappuccinos at the show. And he's like,
and he was kind of in the middle. I would say he was kind of in the middle.
His fraps were priced right, and his caps were in the middle. What's funny though is, so there was a buyer who's coming around and he was looking for caps. So he's looking for caps. Well, he goes over to Mark Orphis at Northern Gecko and grabs a cap. Mark told him a price, and that was the end of it. Well, then Mark and Doug are talking. Mark and Doug are talking after the show, which we're talking about being, open with your pricing. And Doug goes, dude, what are you doing? Why did you have it priced at that? And he goes, what do you mean? What did I have it priced at that? And he's like, they're going for this. And he's like, I know, so-and-so chewed me out for not having it priced that way. So then we immediately changed the pricing on it.
But he had already sold. He had already sold like. He had already sold like 6 of them.
It was kind of funny. But it's funny how you have those, like, you joke about it after the end of the day, especially for people who've been working together for a long time. You laugh about it. But it's funny just how things work out. But it's important to talk to your fellow person and kind of come up with like your floor.
And take that lap and figure out what the market is at that show.
Right.
Because if you would like if it was me and say I walked around and I saw Mark selling caps for $500, I would be like, hey, Mark, you need to get this price up. Also, maybe I would bring my price down a bit to be able to have that sell where I can say, hey, this animal sure is $2,000 or is $2,500, but here's the pros to it, that compared to an $800 cap or whatever it is. Then you can have that conversation. It's hard when you can buy a cap for $500 and then yours is $6,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is. It's a little harder to convince somebody at that point.
Okay. I mean, this is a really good conversation in the sense of like at the show. So I went to the SAC show this past weekend, and I was there for several hours just looking at all the geckos and the pricing, and some were like priced really high, some were priced low, and you realize that the show itself, and you made a good point about kind of the vibe of the show.
Reading the room.
It's definitely more of like a first-time buyer. People don't. People. I heard multiple people ask like, "What is that? Is it crested gecko?" Right? And so, understanding who is at that show is really important in terms of understanding. Yeah, read the room. Like, what is the pricing at? Is somebody a new first-time buyer gonna pay $3,000 for like a breeder? Like, I don't know, right? So, I think that's a really good point that you guys made just now. So, a lot of wisdom to be had.
There's
certainly.
There's definitely, and there's a whole different set of rules for like online versus at a show. I feel like it's a totally different beast.
Well, online's tough too, because like
free for all.
You have to talk to someone over a screen, so you can never get a sense of like the vibe. Like you can't. There's nothing palpable that you can feel. So if you say something out of line, you might not know if it's well received or not received correctly. And so like that's why I don't know. Sometimes I almost enjoy doing shows more because I'm like I can get a sense of where you're at. And if I'm gonna make you mad if I say one thing, so. I don't know.
Well, maybe that's another good conversation in terms of the subjective nature versus the objective nature of pricing, right? There needs to be some sort of balance. Things can't be completely subjective, just because one person is different than the other. There needs, yes, there is that element, but there needs to be some sort of balance where I'm going to price it around this range and then, give or take, so.
Harry, that's why we have What's My Gecko Worth?
Oh, no. Oh no!
I got Kevin with that one.
Kevin, are you on there? Are you the admin?
Kevin's the owner of that group, man. He is the key. He's the chief mod.
Dude, so that group, I don't even comment anymore because it opens up so many cans of worms as far as like bad PR. In the sense of like you can make someone so mad. Just don't. What is the thing that your mom always taught you? If you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Like that is 101 in that group.
But that group is basically the premise of it is people getting their feelings hurt. That's like what the group is.
It's
like
horrible.
If you post in that group, you're going to be upset.
unless you know it's a nice animal, and then you're just.
But at that point,
looking for like people.
You're looking
like,
for compliments.
Yeah.
And why are you even doing that? Like, hey, I know this is a $10,000 gecko. I'm gonna post this in this group and get a bunch of people to be like, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice!" Like, it's nice. You don't have to post.
I mean,
the general purpose of it would be helpful for a lot of new breeders in general too, because you don't know what's priced at what. And so I think the idea to start that thing was probably good, but like anything else, it can probably turn dark easily, right? And so
there's probably a way to do something like that where people have realistic expectations of responses.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really funny if you had like a show where it was like that. What was that like? Oh, something Rotiques Antiques Roadshow.
Oh yeah, Antique Roadshow.
Where
Yeah.
you have it for like
where you have
geckos.
somebody, you have like, it'd be really, yeah, that'd be really interesting. Okay, every breeder, bring your box by this table of 5 experts, and we'll price all of your geckos, and then you just put them on the table.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
The panel,
Yeah,
the panel will be the most expert people. We have AJ. Yeah.
No, that sounds horrible. You would get so destroyed for that.
Oh man,
People would hate you so much if you did anything like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's tough. It's like yeah, the pricing of reptiles, the pricing of antique stuff, and like the pawn shops, like it's just so subjective.
Oh, that's the funniest thing. Like when you watch Pawn Stars, and they'll bring in like, oh, this is my grandfather's sword from like the Civil War, and then they're like, this is like from a dollar store or something, like it's like a replica that they bought off eBay. And they thought it was this priceless family heirloom. That's what happens in that group. Is people post a gecko thinking this is like the best thing since sliced bread, and then they just get absolutely destroyed. And then they are just like, what is happening? And I feel bad. I don't know how to have something helpful in that way that isn't just like really, really upsetting to people.
That's tough.
Right.
Pricing is always so hard.
Because you're telling someone that the thing that they love is not of value to other people.
Yeah,
it's of immense value to them. Yeah. The thing is hot. The thing is hot trash, and we had to tell you.
I mean, everybody gets hurt because
everybody like you love your own animal because it's like it's a living thing. It's beautiful to you. You love it, but to another person's eye, from a value standpoint, it might not be there. So
they'll lowball you or something.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh, this is good.
That's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. But, I wanted to ask you, Kevin. We talked a lot about kind of the technical aspects of the community and the hobby and the business. For you personally, I know you have like a ton of businesses going, maybe 2 or 3, right? And we're talking about the whole part-time versus full-time. For you, in terms of your sanity and your peace, like you're enjoying your projects, you're enjoying the gecko community, but how much of that boils over in terms of it's being too much? You asked me about what's overwhelming about, being a new breeder. So what is overwhelming for you? Do you have a good balance of enjoying your businesses, your hobby, and also family life, being able to be at peace in general as a person?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a rather hardy species. So, I mean, their upkeep is not like you need to be there and it's laborious. I mean, I think these animals really need a drying out period. And I think that when you provide them water, like a fresh water source constantly, you can manage not leaving them alone for a day or two. I think it's really good for them, actually. I think not having that constant input and allowing them to have natural behavior, I think that's really important, because you got to think, like, what are the chances that in their natural biome they're getting rainfall every night? I mean, maybe, but probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. Probability is not there. And so to have that sense of seasonality is important, and it also helps you as a person. It helps you maintain your sanity, and then breaking things up also really helps. With the hatchlings, I mean, they're the same way. I try to keep the humidity up higher, spray them down pretty heavy, fresh water, fresh food. I do insects. So
I wanted to ask you about that.
I think I spend more time on the hatchlings more than I do the adults, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What you're trying to grow them out. Yeah. We've talked about in the past, Kevin, I know when we were at Tinley, we were talking about insects, we were talking about diet. Where have you kind of landed now on your feeding schedule and what you're feeding, and what your thoughts are on bug feeding and all that stuff?
Who was talking about this? I think you might have been talking about it.
Me and Robbie were talking.
Yeah, but you were saying about the animals having a natural amount of occurring parasitic bioload and it only
Uh,
becoming problematic when it's boiled over into an unmanageable level. And I think that retooled the way that I viewed feeding insects. I think that insects are really good for the animals. I think that
Mm.
we keep our animals actually I think our animals in some instances are obese. I'm finding that my more slender animals are breeding far better than my
mm,
healthier looking animals.
yep.
Um, I'm finding that an insect protein is really good for them,
Yeah,
especially
Mm.
the cooeys.
the
The
cooties.
cooeys seem
Yeah.
to go absolutely crazy for the insects.
Which insects
Um,
in particular? Crickets, dubias, mealworms. What do you use?
Crickets, dubias are trash. They're way too much work. The animals don't know how to eat them. They don't.
Mm.
There isn't that natural prey drive is that comes out from them,
Yeah.
right? You actually have to physically teach them what
How
that
to
prey
eat them?
item is
Yeah.
and how to eat them because it's not a naturally occurring prey source for them, so it's not ingrained up here.
Mm.
And so I think that in like crickets, they have that movement that is really important because when you look at
Mm-hmm.
a chihuahua, especially a cage aggressive one, you'll see them go like this,
Yeah, yeah.
and they'll stop
And
because
a
that's
roach
what's
will just like you put in the cage and
they play dead.
it just sits.
Yeah.
They
Doesn't want
play
to move.
dead. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to tong feed. I don't have time for that, and I
Yeah.
don't think that's a good form of enrichment. I think that you can gut load a cricket really well. You can have it's a really good vessel for calcium and all the
Mhm.
nutrients that you need in it. So,
Yeah.
Mm.
I
um,
just as a
yeah,
side note,
that's
I've taught my kahua. I have 5 of them only, so I could teach them. But I'll put dubia in that little dish, one of these
uh,
dishes, and they eat them. I just throw them in
nice.
there, and they just eat them. So
And
Harry, I guess what I would say you'll experience, I'm gonna
yeah.
put a predictor on this.
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah.
they're gonna burn out.
I'd say in
Yeah.
about a year, you're not gonna
Yeah.
want to feed dubia anymore because you're
Mm.
probably and maybe it's hard because you're on the West Coast and cricket access kind of sucks and stuff,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the like when you hit a critical amount of animals, the
Yes.
workload to feed dubia
Yeah.
the
Too much.
workload will be too
Yeah.
much where you'll be like, I can't do this anymore.
I,
You
I
know?
I agree with that, and I see that up ahead as my stuff grows, and so for
My
now it's manageable as a small.
my favorite night of the week is cricket night because it is literally open the drawer, throw them in, open the drawer, throw them in,
Yeah, that's
open the
awesome.
drawer, throw them in, open the
Yeah.
drawer, throw them in. And I
Yeah.
just go
So
rapid
easy.
fire. It's so fast, it's so easy. The animals grow really well with them. I
Yeah.
mean, I couldn't be happier. As long as you have a really good gut load.
Yeah. How about
Um,
grasshoppers? Taking a page from MJ.
I'm excited to try them, man. I'm excited.
Are
M-
you gonna grow?
MJ,
Are you
MJ got
doing
me
it?
onto the grasshoppers.
I'm gonna breed them.
actually-
Yeah,
Nice.
because
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
actually looking
breeding.
into it.
I'm breeding roaches. I'm breeding some crickets. I'm breeding mealworms. I'm like, I might as well breed
Yeah.
grasshoppers at this point.
Yeah,
So,
MJ referred me to a guy, so I'm chatting with him.
Nice.
we're
You
about to
don't do
be
grasshoppers, right?
we're
Kevin?
about to be hopper lords over
Well,
here.
it's Susan,
He does
Susan.
grasshoppers. Yeah.
He does grasshoppers, so
He does. Yep.
Yeah.
he's a sensei when it comes to all this stuff. My wife,
Yeah.
my wife, the other day it was really funny. Not to give Brian enough praise because he's already got it, but she was like, Brian does photography. What is he not good at? Like, is he just good at everything? And I go, yes, Brian is just good at everything.
Yeah.
Kevin, why aren't you good at things like Brian is?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she saw his photography, and she was like, "Wow, he's really good." And I was like, "Yeah, he is. He's really talented at everything." He even keeps orchids too. If you didn't know that as well, he keeps one of the hardest plants alive.
Wow.
Yeah, he's very good
Yeah.
at lots of things for sure.
Yes.
He's very good. Yeah. He could. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
but
So,
but yeah,
well, I
so
guess-
like crickets in Pangea. I mean, you
Yeah.
know,
What Pangea flavor do you use? And do you mix straight up or do you add things to it?
I like to add honey. I like to add blueberries.
Yeah. I do honey too.
I was adding in insect protein, but now that I'm feeding insects, I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
I add calcium.
Powdered?
I like I use powdered. I don't like the calcium I'm using right now. I just need a reason to spend $500 with Repashy, so that I can go and get the Repashy Super Cal in the big old gallon jugs. I think that's my favorite source, just because it's got it's got the calcium component, but it also has the multivitamin component to it. The animals seem to do really well on it. And I just think animals, they just need the extra calcium. I mean, in their diet.
When we're putting this much expectation on them year after year,
Totally.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's,
cool.
I mean, I don't do crickets with the adult cresteds. I just do them with the sub-adults,
the little ones,
the little ones.
Yeah, because they grow much quicker as you kind of for the hatchlings and the grow out.
Yeah, I talked to Chase Carmody, and I kind of picked his brain on, because his animals grow like the fastest I've ever seen. And he's like, I keep them
lots of bugs, high humidity.
Hot, lots of bugs, high humidity. Yep.
Hot, lots of bugs.
It's the secret. It's the secret.
Yeah, I remember him putting up a post, and I sent him I replied to one of his Facebook posts, and I think he basically said, it's not rocket science, people. Get a space heater with a thermostat, spray them, and feed them a lot of bugs. It's just
true,
yep,
though.
it's true. It's true.
It's true. So I've been doing business with Josh's Frogs. I actually took that piece of advice from Michael Pannone. He was like, because you were asking him if he could use his gons, and he said, no,
because it's right in his backyard.
Their shipping is.
It died. Me. My AirPods died.
We've been going too long, Kevin. We
can still hear you good. You're good. We can still hear you good.
So what I was going to say, though, is that he was saying that the shipping was really reasonable, which it is. They've got flat rate shipping, over $50. And what I thought was really cool is they actually had hand warmers in with the crickets in their box so that they could ship during winter temperatures. So I had no DOAs, and I've never had that happen with crickets, not even locally. So I would recommend Josh's Frogs crickets to anybody. That's very awesome. Reasonable.
So, question for you. We ask everybody this. What would you say your advice to new breeders would be, Kevin? People who send you DMs, people that come up to you at a show. What would you say kind of over the years and all the things you've maybe trial and errored? What would you say a couple of the key takeaways for newer people that you'd recommend?
So I actually had a new breeder come up to me at the show recently. He does ball pythons right now, and his daughter's really interested in crested. So he was like, my daughter really wants to make a go of this. Do you have any recommendations? And I said that he's like, what are some hot morphs right now? And I said, that's not how you need to approach this. That is not the way to approach this at all.
You should just buy a bunch of sables. You should do
that. So I said, do what you like. At the end of the day, you're the one who's going to have to take care of the animals, and you're the one who's going to have to breed the animals. So you always have to do what you like. And I think that's going to be the only way that you find value in all of this, is that you do it for yourself and nobody else. Don't do it for clout. Don't do it for the money. Do it for you and the passion that animals bring to you. So I would say work with the morphs or the phenotypes that you like, and take time to get to know a few breeders that are willing to spend time on you, because not everybody's going to be willing to just chat with you, but the ones that are, invest in them, invest in those relationships, and then work with them to find the animals that you like. That would be my best advice. And go slow. Take your time. It's meant to be enjoyed. It's not a race.
That's really good advice.
Yeah, that's really good. So where can we find you, Kevin? How can people hit you up for your animals and chat with you and send you long messages about morphs?
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Fireside Geckos. Okay. And then we're also going to be working on launching a website that's going to be fireside-geckos.com. We'll make an announcement when we launch that, but that's where you'll also be able to find all of our animals that are going to be available for sale.
Cool.
But
when does that launch, Kevin?
When I get time to do it between everything else. Yeah, it's not easy to I'm very particular with how I want it to look when I first start. So I've been kind of trying to take my time with it, but we're getting close. We're getting very close.
Cool, man. Yeah. Any other things you want to plug or shout out or before we end?
I'll plug two things.
Yeah.
I'll plug Flora and Fauna Conference.
Yeah.
My girl Gabby and my guy Brett are putting on probably the best show in the country. If you haven't attended or made your reservations yet, you should definitely check it out. I myself, along with Harry and AJ, will be there.
We'll be there.
It's May 4th through the 6th in Wyndham, New York. It's going to be a heck of a time. There's going to be a ton of gecko people there. It's going to be just such a blast. I mean, honestly, the geckos are almost second to the people. I have made so many friends over the years in this community, and getting to spend time with them in a really private event where you feel like anywhere you walk around, there's going to be someone that you like and a face that you want to talk to. There's no better feeling in the world. So
yeah, it's the best.
It's the best. So I'm looking forward to that very much. And then I got to plug my wife's business. It's Winston and Wellington. It's a kids brand. She's really focused on like organic materials for children's clothes. So I have to give her a quick shout out. If you have any kids or know anybody who needs or has kids,
pull it up.
I definitely couldn't recommend her more. AJ, we would be happy to help dress your little baby boy when the time comes. Okay.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate
no problem.
Is your wife's Winston and Wellington, right?
Yeah, that's her page.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if you know anybody who has kids or needs kids clothing for a friend, feel free to message her. She'd be happy to help you. She can also do custom stuff. She's
can dress your
fashion
geckos?
designer by trade, so she can do custom stuff as well.
She can put a hat on your geckos and
no, she should start making gecko hats. She'd have a big market for that. Gecko onesies,
Yes.
All right, well, thank you, Kevin. This is awesome.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate
Very
you.
helpful.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate the invite. It's been a blast. I had a great time talking to you two, as always.
Yeah, man, it flew by. So it was amazing. So it was really good talking with you, Kevin. So we appreciate you, brother. We'll see you at Flora Fauna.
Yes, see you guys soon. Have a good night.
All right, guys.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.